Hello and welcome to Level with Emily. Today's conversation is with D.B. Cooper, and she is a voice actor. She's been in the industry for a very long time. Most recently, you'd recognize her voice if you played the game Lake. She was a couple characters in Lake. She's also one of only two characters that voice all of the sounds in the roguelike deck builder strategy game called Monster Train. And she is on the voiceover team at ZeniMax Online Studios. As you know, they make the Elder Scrolls Online. In any event, wonderful conversation with D.B. Cooper. Be sure to check out the audio version of the podcast over on patreon.com/level. In the meantime, this interview kind of starts in the middle because we were chatting, getting to know each other as you do before an interview starts. And normally a lot of that gets thrown out because it's just, hi, how are you? Nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. But we just kind of launched into this conversation, and I ended up keeping a lot of that. So she's going to start in the middle of a sentence, basically, where she's telling the story of how she got into voice acting. D.B. Cooper on Level with Emily Reese.
And my story about that is about George Sanger, the composer for, Maniac Mansion and Double Trouble Ramp and all of these wonderful things. And one just spectacular, I found out about him through The Seventh Guest.
Okay.
And listen to that music. I mean, that was one of the first really immersive games that I've ever been in, to the point where I felt like I had been in that house. And so I wrote him a fan letter.
Nice.
And if you go to his website, it still says, we can't answer all email, due to the volume of email. So the reason I'm telling you this is my 5-minute story of how I got into the biz, okay? And it has to do with George Sanger. I wrote him an email. And I sent it off knowing that I had sent a letter to a hero. And 5 minutes later, my inbox goes, "You've got mail." This is back in the days of AOL.
Yeah.
"You've got mail." And it was George Sanger.
Wow.
So apparently he'd been at his computer when I sent my note, and he replied.
Wow.
And he said, "Hey, I'm working on some new stuff, and here's this little site where you can see our, experimental music, and take a look at this, and I'd love to see what you think about it." And so I was like, "Everybody, come here, look, I got music from George Sanger." And so here we are gathered around the laptop listening to new music from George Sanger, and 5 minutes later, my email goes, "You've got mail."
Wow.
So in the few minutes that it had taken us to receive his mail, go to the website and listen to music, he had taken a look at my email signature, which always includes my website. And he just did, on a lark, clicked it, and discovered that one of my special talents is barking. Fluent dog barking. It's always front and center. So he writes back 5 minutes later and says, "You can bark. Can you bark in key?"
And you can, because you're a musician. You're a music theater person.
Yeah. And so I never had before, but boy, howdy, I wasn't going to say no to that.
Right.
And I said, yes, big ol' yes, of course. So barking and meowing, 2.5 octaves.
Incredible.
Was my first job in games for a little online game called GoPetsLive.com. Okay? And it was just the most wonderful thing. It was pure happenstance. So the first GDC I went to was in 2006. It was the last year that it was in San Jose. And I met the most spectacular people there who are still my friends to this day. And just the network that occurs when you're meeting people. You meet somebody and you meet somebody, and you just this vast network. And here's what I have learned in the world of games. That first and foremost, it pays to be present when you can at gatherings like the GDC. I mean, if you can afford it, you should go, because just being there among your peers, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And another thing I've learned is that the higher up you go in this business, the nicer people are. Because frankly, unless it's a celebrity, nobody needs to work with an asshole more than once.
Mm-hmm.
And the best lesson of all is never be afraid to write a fan letter.
Yes. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the higher up you go, the nicer people are.
Yeah,
and that's just the way the attrition in this works. It's like everybody's wonderful.
And everybody, certainly for the most part, really loves what they're doing and really wants to be doing what they're doing. And you just don't find that you don't find that in radio, for crying out loud, And it's
oh my gosh, radio. The personalities in radio are just so fraught.
Yeah, it's an interesting place.
It's so
that's
nice
been
to
the
talk
last
to somebody else who's done radio so much,
Oh yeah, I mean
I
the
was
last
in radio
15 years of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. It was it was radio, and I have had almost fist fights.
Yeah.
It's just
I love it though. I love being live. I
do I.
love that energy. And I also love talking to people about music. So it's been almost a year ago now that I resigned from my last position, which was the morning show host for the jazz station here in Minneapolis.
Wow.
And I loved it because I love jazz and I love talking about jazz and I love teaching people about jazz.
Yeah.
Because, it can be hard to understand or hard to like sometimes. Just
if
any
somebody
music
gives you a
can.
key, but if somebody gives you the key to the door and it's like, here's what
Yeah.
they're thinking, you go, oh.
Yeah,
Scales fall from your eyes, and suddenly there's a whole milieu that you never knew you enjoyed.
exactly. Yeah,
It's perfect.
So I love that, and I miss that energy of live. Because you can't recreate that if you're voice tracking your shift. You can't.
Yeah.
It's just not the same. So
It isn't the same.
Yeah,
No.
it's funny.
Have you ever done live TV? Nothing. So I've done live radio.
No.
Okay. Nothing beats the stress of live TV, I got to tell you.
God. Oh, I'm sure. I cannot even.
OMG.
Yeah.
So we used to do one of the things that they do around here with the public TV station is they have an auction every year. And so it's alive and it's live. And so you're reading cards about the items and things. And so what they would do is they would get the local celebrities and we would get out there and read these things. And that's rarefied stuff right there. Live TV.
Because, obviously, the clock is a big issue in radio. It's huge, but it's also huge in TV, and you can't look like you're panicking. Like, when I'm on the radio, I can panic all day and not sound like it. I might sound like it a little bit, but I'm not going to...
but you can be reaching for stuff, and it's like, oh, my God, okay, where are my papers? In the meantime, let me tell you what's happening, and this thing is going on over here, and Do you have the radio nightmare?
I have it sometimes, and it's funny. I had it worse when I worked at Minnesota Public Radio, and I had to cover the Garrison Keillor A Prairie Home Companion shift. And every time I screwed up the broadcast, I would get threatened with my job. And I'm like,
oh,
so I would have nightmares about that. But then that was before
that.
I got more substantial shifts and stuff. So I had it a couple of times when I did the morning show, just in terms, obviously, of oversleeping it, right? But
mine is and the other DJs I know have the same one. And it's not like this anymore because everything's digital, right? But I'm from the days of LPs and 45s
and carts and stuff.
That's where I cut my teeth.
Yeah.
And so my nightmare, which I don't want to say it's persistent like I have it every month, but if there's one that I have, it's either that one or the actor's nightmare, okay? But the DJ's nightmare is that you're running out, the song's almost over, and there's not a record in the studio. Of course. There's no stacks anywhere. You haven't pulled your records. They're all down the hall, and you're running out.
Yeah.
It's always like that.
Just silence. Just silence.
It's gonna be. Actually, I don't think it ever gets to silence, but there's gonna be silence, and dead air.
So what's the actor nightmare?
The actor's nightmare is when you're on stage and you don't know your lines.
Sure.
Okay, and there's an audience there. They're there.
Yeah.
Okay, or you either don't know your lines, or for me, I don't know the choreography.
Okay.
And I'm with a group, and I'm just kind of like. shuffle over here and shuffle over there. The thing that always kills me is when the audience starts to leave because it's so bad. That's happened in my dreams. You can hear them. You can hear them, scuffing out. It's terrible.
Oh,
but
that's
it is
hideous.
There's even. Do you know that there's a play called The Actor's Nightmare? I mean, it is literally about this thing. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's incredible. I love it.
It's. I think it's endemic. I think anyone who's done live theater has had that. I haven't met anybody actually who hasn't had that nightmare.
I believe
you're
that.
there.
Yeah.
Here you are. Guess what? I have absolutely nothing to say. And that I have had that occur maybe twice, where I've got the first line in a play.
Yeah.
And the lights go up and I'm like, got nothing.
It did happen to me once.
Let me pour some tea. Let me light a cigarette. Let me do something. I'll pretend I've got a cigarette somewhere. Let me get out oh my God. Remember what you were going to say. Okay. So we did a play where I had the first line and my character smoked in this play. Okay. But we were doing this play in an old mill building. So my character did not smoke. You dig?
Right.
Okay.
Right,
But what she had was a beautiful cigarette case that went into a breast pocket of her blazer, okay?
Yeah.
Or in a side pocket. And I would get out my cigarette case and I would look at it and then I would feel for a lighter and not have one.
Okay.
Okay? And then so I'd have to close up my cigarettes and put them back in my pocket. Can I tell you how nervous that made people in the audience? It killed them.
Because they thought you were going to smoke?
No, because they all wanted a cigarette.
Oh.
It got that close. All the smokers were like, dying. Dying here. Yeah.
Oh, God, that's amazing.
So, you were going to tell me something.
Oh, just that I, as a trumpet player, there was one concert that I did. I was going to school, college in Boulder, Colorado, and this was with the Boulder Concert Band. So this was a gig outside of the college. And I was filling in on trumpet, and they were doing this tune by Leonard Bernstein, I call it, tune, called Slava. And there's a, super exposed, very brief, but super exposed trumpet solo right off the bat in the beginning. And I'll put it in the audio version of this chat because I'm keeping all this.
Because it's epic.
So I'll put it in here just so you can hear how brief and important it is.
Yeah.
And I just completely forgot to play it. And so that was funny.
That's a laugh a minute right there, Emily.
That was funny. I thought it was hilarious after the concert, and one of the other bandmates just was like, yeah, that was unprofessional. I'm like, sorry. Sorry, dude. I just, but yeah, that's...
I went up.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just a measure of silence that everybody's
no.
Oh, something's supposed to happen there. Yeah. Oops. Yeah.
There's a teaspoon of something missing.
Yeah, but that's still different. I could hide with the whole band for the rest of the piece. I didn't have to stand up on stage with everyone looking at me.
You weren't the soloist.
Right. Yeah, it was just a little ditty.
Isn't it amazing? How do we survive? I swear to God.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I miss playing because I don't play hardly ever anymore. But there's so much stuff I don't miss about it. There's a lot of pressure whenever you're performing anything, whether it's radio or in theater or, sitting on first trumpet in a community band.
Oh, my. Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, there you are. But, well, yeah, I honestly, you've been on my list since before I met you. And when I met you, I wasn't in a position to interview anybody but composers. And then after it changed over, I'm getting around to it now. So let's be grateful for that.
There's a big list. I'm grateful.
And it's just such a pleasure because everyone who knows you, and that's a lot of people that I also know, some of them, everyone speaks so highly of you, and that's just wonderful. So pleasure to finally get to talk to you about the work that you do in the industry. And we kind of already started, but that's okay.
Yeah, I like it when we have to talk about radio first because
had to. Oh my God, radio! Yes, we had to talk about radio. I love radio. I love it.
It's just such a blessing.
Yeah. So, I let's go ahead and just talk about super briefly what you do now.
Okay.
If you don't mind explaining that, because this is cool, and I've never had the opportunity to have someone like you on level. So let her rip.
Awesome. Okay, so well, I've been a casting director, voice actor, freelance for 20-something years. And actually longer, but I mean, I've had my own studio since 1999 here at Camp Cooper. So yeah, I've been kind of cobbling things together since then. And I got the chance to come in from the cold. So ZeniMax Online took a chance with me as a lifelong freelancer and brought me in to be part of the VO team. So I've been, I want to say, for the past few years, crafting resumes and cover letters and just kind of tossing them over the fence to various and sundry game companies, because one of the things you don't get in America is medical insurance that's worth a damn if you're working for yourself. So that was a draw. But the other thing that I miss is working among people, because part of my experience is theater, which is chaos. And that's the greatest in the world when you've got a whole bunch of people and everyone's got a cohesive idea and you're the marshal and you're doing all these things and it's just the greatest. And I've been by myself really since like 2012. Just kind of hacking, playing the hits from here in southern Maine. So the draw of being able to be in a collegial atmosphere was the greatest of the draws. Medical insurance, it's nice, but working among people, that's the reason to do it. And so most of the time, I would either get a polite let's talk. Actually, most of the time you get a rejection when you apply for a job at a game company. I do anyway. And then occasionally I'd get people who were interested, and we'd do an interview or two. So most of the time they were great. Sometimes they were catastrophic. But you get past what we call the sanity check interview, where someone just, I've seen your resume and I've read your cover letter. You're apparently literate. Let's see if you're nuts. So you get past that, and then you talk to other people who are in the company. And so I've had some wonderful episodes of that. And this one with ZeniMax was spectacularly wonderful. Just
nice.
Just was. It was so quick and so delightful that I really felt like they wanted me on their team. That's what it felt like. Felt like that right away.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's nothing like that.
No. So explain a little about the kind of work that you do then, because it seems like someone like you, and just given the types of games that come from ZeniMax Online,
mm-hmm.
that you would be really important, because there's a lot of dialogue in a game.
There's a lot
like
of dialogue.
So
they are so good at this.
So
first of all, let's start with the fact that they are already so good at handling this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They are just spectacular. They've got the best, wonderful writers. Oh, my God. So they've got these wonderful writers, and then they've got this. The VO team was 2 people until I got there. And they were handling everything. I mean, it's 2 women, and they are the most awesome. I know I sound like a sycophant, okay? And I am, and I'll apologize for sounding like one, but I absolutely mean it. They are amazing. They make it all happen. So there is just this mammoth amount of dialogue that has to go into this spectacularly rendered game, and they made it up. They came up through the ranks and through all of the QA and how does this work, and the, understanding all of the programming bits and all of this stuff, and they're just astonishing.
Wow.
It's just a thrill to be working with them. I am learning so much, and I've got to tell you, working on a title that's this gigantic I've never been so nervous in my life, okay? I mean, and you and I know what it's like to be nervous about something, okay? We do, because, or have you done improv? We know what it's like to be nervous, okay? But this is like, it's more than driving a truck. It's like driving a ship. It's like being and I'm not driving the thing. Somebody else is handling all of that. But every one of the elemental things that goes into this is part of this grand scheme that all has to fit together. And it does. It's a miracle.
Wow.
And it's beautiful. So the things that I'm learning are about how the scripts are made. How do you have this whole wonderful bunch of writers putting all of these things together so that it is a cohesive story, and then you have all of these wonderful side quests and these brilliant characters that are vivid, these jewel-like characters that you just, when you go through this world, these people, they're people.
Yeah.
The thing that we're working on right now,
which we're not allowed to say, by the way. We're not allowed to talk about, just so everybody isn't like, what is it?
I know, I can't
we
tell
just
you.
can't, but that's okay.
No, the thing that's in good time.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, in good time. Because what we've got is coming out this month, and that is this wonderful story called Ascending Tide. And it's coming out on March 14th. For PC, and it's coming out on March 29th for the consoles. And so this was the first part of the game that I played when I joined the ranks. So you play the game. I mean, a lot of here's the best part about being in the game business is you just spend a lot of time playing the game if you're working for a good game company, okay, who want you to play the darn game.
Yes.
So I'm playing through this wonderful game, and I'm telling you, some of my heroes are in this chapter that's coming out.
Neat.
This month. I was flattened.
Cool.
Yeah, it's just the awesomest it is. It's just the greatest. And so playing and being able to see what the mechanics are like and how all of the pieces fit together and the way things branch off and all of this kind of thing, because I hadn't played this game before.
Okay.
I had been, I'm a console gamer.
Yeah.
So I'm RPG girl.
Yes.
Okay. And my typical, the one I always buy is Final Fantasy.
Nice. Yeah.
So I mean, like with Final Fantasy 15, I got real completionist on it. I probably went over 200 hours, which is not unusual for me with a Final Fantasy game. I mean, I really do play them to death.
Yeah.
So the reason why I was, I don't want to say leery or reluctant, but one of the reasons why I didn't think that I was a good fit for an online game is because with like World of Warcraft and the other games where you have groups and squads and clans and that kind of stuff, my life is so bizarre that I can't plan ahead like that. And I may not be there for your raid. Or if we're going to go do this trial, I mean, I may have a job myself with China, or something like that. So, I mean, I can't guarantee my time. So I've never felt as though I'm really qualified to play an online game. And I'm telling you, man, it's wonderful to play with a group. Mm-hmm. Nothing beats it.
Yeah.
Because we play with the audio team. We'll try things out and play with the audio team. But this game is you can play it by yourself. You can just discover the world in there. And
I love that.
It's really wonderful.
Yeah.
There's so much to it. I mean, that's why it feels like you're steering a ship. It's gigantic. The things that did I make sure my actors pronounced this correctly?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And I'm not even directing this time around. I'm assisting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because
okay.
Yeah, because it's got its own, it's got people who know how to direct this title who are at the helm.
Okay.
And I was acting as assistant. And
So what's the nuance there then? Tell me more about that.
okay, so the director is the one who is specifically talking to the actor. However, I also have permission to talk to the actor.
Okay.
Or to pipe in and make either corrections in pronunciation, describe lore in case we've missed the point on something, or make a suggestion about how the line should read. But most of the time, what I'm doing is I'm sitting on book.
Okay.
Okay. Somebody needs to do that because there's so much. It's just massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, with games that are this size, and I mean, I'm speculating because I don't, but with massive games, again, with my particular expertise, if you will, understanding how the music can work in a giant game like that and how many people that takes to put together. And then comparing that to all of the verbal audio, all of the dialogue, and how there just literally must be just thousands and thousands and thousands of lines. And, even if you have, let's say, 30 people voicing 90 different characters, you have to keep track of their different tone, right? And is this the tone of this character from this person? I mean, it seems like just such a massive job.
It is. Actually,
yeah.
And you have to there is a great deal of compassion that goes into this. Seriously, there is a great deal because we have to you have to know how things should sound, and then you need to get a grip on what the other person is saying, so that when you have how your actors are being brought in to record. What is the general tone of things, like you said? And so you want it to be rich and wonderful. Working with great actors is just an absolute thrill.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
It just is. It
Yeah.
absolutely is. And so there is exciting stuff happening at this.
Cool.
And I couldn't be more thrilled, honestly. I'm learning so much about all of them, about the mechanical things that have to happen, mechanical and specific little, I don't want to call it programming, but you've got to be able to do the back end of stuff. And it's like looking inside a magnificent clock,
Yeah.
taking the back off a watch and just going, wow, that's what it's like.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's zoom out for a minute because, I mean, just being in radio or having been in radio, because I'm not currently, but having spent time there, like that's obviously one thing you can do if you have a nice voice that people like to listen to or that doesn't annoy people. Let's just put it that way. But then there are so many other ways to use your voice, whether it's, narration, like for, video documentaries or audiobooks, right? There's commercials on TV, there's commercials on radio, there's medical procedural stuff, right? I mean, there's just such a huge, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's cartoons, it's just incredible. So of all of those things, because you've done quite a wide spectrum of these as a voice actor, correct?
I have not. Well, I actually have done animation now because I got to dub Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway. That was awesome and a half. Yeah.
Oh, geez, that's great.
That was wonderful, and I did it from here. That's the
nice.
thing.
Yeah. See, I mean, and that's a whole other question I have too. But just what are some of the things that you've gotten to do with your voice that you've really enjoyed and, just outside of games? Because I know that that's fun. But, like what are some of the other things that you've really enjoyed or want to do more of or whatnot?
Well, I think the thing that really kind of kept the coffers full in the freelance years was narration for the most part. I have had relationships with production companies where I've done ads for car dealerships and things like this. And that was great and fun. And every month you have a new thing. And I mean, there's nothing like return business, right?
Yeah.
So commercials are great. They are a completely, that I shouldn't modify the word unique, but it's a unique mindset. Because you do have this much time and you have to create a relationship with the listener in this much time.
In like 15 seconds or 30 seconds, yeah. Or whatever it is.
Or whatever it is. And so you've got, the strictures are really fantastic. Did you ever read A Wrinkle in Time?
Oh, yes. Yes. Meg and all them. Yes.
Yep. Do you remember, I think it was Mrs. Who was talking to the boy about the nature of a sonnet.
I don't remember that.
And he said, I don't understand it. She was talking about how you describe things and how there are strictures on the way. Sometimes there are rules about the way you do things. And she said, it's like a sonnet. And he goes, I don't understand. And she says, don't be stupid, boy. I remember her saying that. A sonnet has a very distinct pattern that you have to use if you're going to call it a sonnet.
Yep.
But within that stricture, you may say anything you desire. And I feel like, I'm romantic about commercials, which can possibly be construed as idiotic, I suppose. But getting a point across, creating a relationship with a viewer or a listener in this amount of time is, it's like running the 100-yard dash and winning. It's really nice.
Yeah.
You've got it's hyper strict, and I love getting there. Yeah. So I love the ads I've done. The stuff that I've got on my website are like, these are my favorite things because I was able to really enjoy myself in a very short amount of time. But the things that are wonderful and ongoing are the narrations for a product or a service. Or let's say something that a country is doing for its citizens, that kind of thing. Little bits of history. Sometimes I haven't done TV or movie documentary, but I have done documentary style. Here's how this works. Or things that are called case studies. That's the other thing I like, where we tried this, we were going to do this advertising campaign, but we thought we'd do it like this, and here's how it worked out. That kind of stuff. It's wonderful. Yeah. And the medical stuff.
You like doing the medical stuff?
I do. I'm such a nerd. Let me tell you about your olfactory epithelium,
that's such a huge part of being able to do that job is being able to pronounce those words, right? It's like classical radio.
Sure. You need to know all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interstitial microbiome and, talking about the value of dental prophylaxis. And, so it's wonderful.
Yeah. Here's
where one of the questions that you sent me is this, and it was what would you recommend for people who want, if you want to learn about improving as a voice actor, and now that things are opening up, again, take improv.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Did you ever take improv as a radio guy?
No, I did it in high school, but I never.
So I took it in college. I had a great teacher. My teacher was so wonderful. Oh my God. Mr. Marotta. And I've never forgotten his mantra. He would sit in the back of the class and we would get where are you, who are you, and what are you doing, go. And he would shout, don't think! Don't think! So I also went to Boston to take improv from Ron Brown, who is brilliant, by the way.
Okay.
Improv totally ups your game. And the other thing that really kicked me into high gear when I was doing radio was You Don't Know Jack, the game.
Oh, the game. Yeah.
Listening to those guys doing the lead-ins for the questions and stuff like that. I'm like, I can do that.
Yeah.
I want to work for Jellyvision, man. It was awesome. So yeah, that kicked me into high gear with my live radio stuff. PD had to tell me to kind of tone it down a little bit. You're being too funny, he said.
Oh, I love that.
You're being too
that's
funny.
great.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Sorry.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, but take improv. You know what? It works for anybody.
Interesting.
It really does. I recommend it for anyone doing any kind of acting of any. I mean, really any kind, because it will test you and it will show you what you're capable of doing.
Yeah. Wow, I just feel like thinking on my feet is such a weakness. I'm good. I love how I just insert myself into this situation.
As you should, actually. This is about both of us.
Because when I'm on the radio, I still felt like I had some semblance of control, even being live, because I'm the one working the board. I'm the one making the mic go up and down and hitting play on all the stuff. Like, I'm still the master of that domain.
Got it.
But that would, for me personally, be a big challenge. And I love to be funny, and I love to be up in front of people, and I love to do all those things. But I think doing that would be really, it would be mind-blowing. Yeah.
It is. And the wonderful thing that you learn is that you don't have to be funny.
Oh.
Because it's not a performance.
Right.
It's an event. That's the thing that I love. And
Okay.
it becomes a collegial thing. I'm sure you've heard yes and. As the notion, the kernel of improv, it teaches you a lot about what you can do under duress.
Right.
It's not my job to be funny. It's my job to continue the scene. And what that does for me, as a person, I need to communicate with lots of different people about lots of different things. And it could be agents and studio people and all of this kind of stuff. And let's say we have a snag. Okay, there it is. Now what? Okay, so let's think. What can we do to punt? Is it my job to panic? Nope. It's my job to, kind of keep things on the even. And improv helps you do that. It's like, okay, this isn't the only path. Apparently, this is going wrong. Okay, that building's burning down. Let's find another one. It's like that. You learn that, and you learn you've got that in your stores. If you've got someone who's challenging you, and this is a problem that I've got, and I'm going to out myself for being a jerk. I've got my personality type is it's not fight or flight. It's fight. Challenge me, okay? It's just fight. That's it. It's challenge me, and if I had spines on the back of my neck, they would go point all the time, because that's my reaction. And I have tried. I've been in therapy. Okay? And it's like, sorry, I'm actually hardwired for that. And you want to know something that I found out recently that is such a joy, is that actually this is a biological imperative that kept my clan safe back in the days when we were living in caves. I'm the clan jerk. And I'll get out there and put up my dukes with the saber-toothed tiger who's trying to get your babies. I'll go out there and put my body in the way so that you and the kids can get away. And if I get my butt handed to me, too bad. But my reaction to fight actually has a biological imperative. Mm-hmm. So finding that out actually gave me a great deal of peace, because I recognize it as a chemical cascade. So when someone gives me heat, I go, oh, there it is. I can respond, not react.
Sure.
And improv actually helps with that, because you have to learn how to respond.
Yeah.
It's response. Yeah, it's great.
So this is kind of a weird question. I'm not sure I like it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I didn't write this down to you. I know.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm curious, like, how often are you actually improving then in any of these sessions? Has that ever happened? Or so what's tell me about that.
So creature sessions. So one of the things you asked me was what's my favorite, and honestly doing creature sounds.
I love that, because I don't usually think of people making creature sounds. I think of a sound designer creating a creature sound.
Sure. Now, May I mention another podcast?
Oh, please. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a podcast called 20,000 Hertz, and it's all about sound.
Love that.
My friend Dallas Taylor does this wonderful podcast. And I heard him talking to the man who did the music for Minecraft. And one of the things that fellow, who's also a sound designer, was talking about how he wanted a bug to sound. And I wrote to Dallas and I said, dude, you want to talk about bugs? I got them. And I've got 200 other unique voices that I could, not me personally, but that this game created. Called Monster Train. And so Dallas and 20,000 Hertz did a podcast about the game of Monster Train and how one other actor and I created probably 200 named, almost 200 named characters, but more than 200 unique sounds.
Wow.
In this game. Just us two. Voice
Incredible.
actors, D.B. Cooper, Michael Schwalbe, that's it. It almost became, it's like it's a thing.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
there's two. They do all of the things. So the last time we did an update for this game, and I had suggested to Jordan Chin, the sound designer and the spectacular composer, if you don't know his work, you absolutely have to check it out. He's just a gem.
Yes.
We swapped genders on everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I said, just let me do the big guys and let Michael do the little guys. Because
Yeah.
I was doing all the little tiny. Michael is a wonderful actor, and he's got this great set of pipes. He used
Okay.
to be a metal singer, Michael Schwalbe.
Okay,
So he
nice.
was able to do these really things that were just, all of
Yeah.
the wonderful, huge bad guys at the end. And I was doing all of the little
guys up here. Yeah, I got all the little guys. So I was doing the morsels. Huzzah!
and the imps.
Okay. Yeah.
Hacha!
And stuff like that. So, and all of these other little wonderful things. But we also did vocalizations for items in the game. There are these things that are magical elements that show up and go with all of this layers of sounds. And there's a lot of vocalizing in there, even if you can't recognize it as human. It's just part of the symphonic event for
Sure.
this item. So what we do for that to make all of those creatures is art. It's art, character art.
Oh,
Here's the
seeing it
creature.
and being inspired from the art.
So
Yes.
give me the art, give me the name of the creature, even if it's just a work in progress, and tell me what it is you need from them.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so we need you to spawn. Okay. You need to spawn. In this case, it was a spawn, a prep sound, because the prepping for an attack was, we didn't have an attack sound because the attack was mechanical sound. It was a mechanical sound. So, but the prep, like, or whatever,
Yeah.
that was the prep. Then being hit and dying. So everybody had at least 4. Some of them had a spellcast sound. Others had some other interstitial sound that just occurred in the game. Okay, so we, and you'd need several iterations of those. And so we'd just work on it. And it was the best. It's like woodshedding something.
Yeah.
You take it out in the woodshed and just work on it. That's where improv comes in. I have this idea. Let me try this. Oh, here's an underwater creature. Let's try this. Needs
Yeah.
to sound like a bug. Let me get a comb, and go in front of my teeth. That kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Just make it up. Does it work? Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. Let's
Yeah.
try it. Yeah. It's wonderful. But that is by far the most wildly creative and probably my favorite thing. And it is absolutely exhausting.
Well, I would think exhausting mentally, but also vocally, right? I
Oh, yeah.
mean, you've certainly, I'm sure, been in sessions where you've had to say, listen, I need to stop right now, or this ain't happening anymore. So how do you take care of yourself in that way? How
Well-
do you take care of your pipes,
Well, you don't. Yeah, see, the things that with Monster Train, we were able to do an awful lot without really wrecking the airway, because you learn how, frankly. And
Sure.
so there are a few things that are very specific about where you make these sounds. I actually teach a class called Fight Club, which is about how to take bullets, howl in agony, and die. And one of the things that you've got to be able to do is make it sound like it's rough or dusty or agonized without it going down here. Because when people make the gravel down here, it's all over. Because that's not where you're supposed to do that. That sound that will not hurt you actually occurs in the place where your oral cavity starts to head down your throat. It's what what Michael Schwalbe calls the loogie spot. Isn't that terrible? Such a guy. But it is. It's that place where your soft palate really takes over, where it starts to go down your throat. And if you whisper, you can feel where it is.
Yeah.
So that's where the dust is. If you need to sound dusty.
Is up higher.
It's way up high.
Yeah.
But it's also where the gravel is. Because the gravel is right back there. It's the same place. There's two things that I use all the time that's in the back of my throat. And one of them is dust, and it sounds like this.
Okay.
And the other one, and it's in the same place, and it's gravel. And I call it gravel, and it's right there, but it's way up. It's way up. It's not down here. It's way up, and it's almost like it's shooting through your nose. Now, Patrick Fraley told me about Peter Falk. Patrick Fraley is the actor that everybody knows. He was the bubble tape guy, and then he was Krang and Baxter Stockman and Casey Jones and Vernon in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and about 1,000 other wonderful characters that have populated your existence. Okay, but this is what he said about Peter Falk when he was doing Columbo. When you think about Columbo, you think about a guy who's got this deep voice. Little guy, deep voice.
Yep.
Listen to this. Here's my regular way of talking to you. Okay? I'm just going to talk to you in my normal kind of, mezzo-alto voice. And it's like this, but if I add gravel to it, it sounds like it drops an octave. I haven't done anything. All I've done is add a little gravel to it, and that's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay? And isn't that interesting? Because it makes it sound like you're way down in the basement. And I'm really not. All I'm doing is I'm talking to you in my regular voice, and I'm only adding that little vocal style in the back of my throat.
Wow.
And you don't, that will wear out after time. That will wear out after time.
Yeah.
But if you understand, my dear trumpet friend, if you understand your instrument, and you know where your support places are, so you need to know about your diaphragmatic support and this cannon, this column of air that comes up from your diaphragm, how your diaphragm works, all this stuff. You need to make friends with your diaphragm, and you need to understand your vocal mechanism. You need to understand it.
Right.
And find out where these pressure points are so you can place these sounds so that you don't wear yourself out. Look, talking for 4 hours is going to wear anybody out, whether you're doing an accent or a style or anything at all. It is. But learning where those sounds are made so that if you need to sound like an orc, come in and buy my stuff. Don't just stand there, buy something, you can do that for a long time if you're placing it correctly.
Yeah.
And always have your liquid.
Have your water or your
scotch. Yeah, baby. Honestly, I must confess, sometimes there's a whiskey. Sometimes I got a little. It just depends on what's going on.
Yeah.
But it depends on what it needs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's knowing how it's done is the thing that allows you to do it for a long time.
Right.
And where that wonderful mix of sounds are made.
So earlier you said something about, recording at home, and I record at home, but I'm not, I don't have like a, isolation booth. I just have some sound panels and some curtains that sometimes I pull, sometimes I don't, whatnot. 30 years ago you couldn't do it like that, but
oh no, we didn't have nonlinear editing.
Right.
Now that you can afford Pro Tools and you don't need a deck, or sound, Twisted Wave or Audacity or any of the other things that people use to record. My foray into recording was Pro Tools. Back in the days of Pro Tools 6, they had a Pro Tools Free, I think they called it. I can't remember. They offered it, and it was a non-proprietary. It didn't require proprietary hardware. So it was a, and the reason why I chose Pro Tools, which seriously for VO, I mean, really, it's like delivering milk in a Mack truck. It's like, it's a little bit overkill. It really is. But the fellow at WBZ Radio in Boston, who was the promo director, gave me a demonstration on how it worked. And he was putting together this wonderful promotion, and it had all of these tracks, and he was showing how the multi-track worked. And he showed me on 2 different occasions how Pro Tools worked, and that's why I use it to this day, is because someone showed me twice. So
I mean, that's what I started on was Pro Tools.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the nice things about it is if I am doing something for a studio, I can do it according to whatever their specs are and just send them this. Here is the session. Have it.
Yeah.
You know, I can send tracks as well. I mean, but a lot of times if it's with a studio, they're just send me the session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love Pro Tools for shuffle mode. Because nobody else has shuffle mode. I'm like,
I can't understand that. Just give me shuffle.
Can we just have shuffle? Why?
Why isn't that a thing? Why isn't that automatic?
They must have, trademarked it or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So I do love it. I've gotten used to it. And Isotope are my, my 1-2. And the thing that happens with people who are recording at home. Now so being in theater and being, I used to be in rock and roll bands and that kind of stuff. You have a certain amount of tech that you accumulate in your career that you bring forward. And so I have a considerable amount of tech and awareness of acoustic situations. Plus I also understand wiring, the wiring and the switches, miss. I understand the wiring and what is required to get sound from A to B and why things are the way they are. And George Sanger always says it's always the cables. So I always keep that with me. If something's wrong, always check the cables first. Don't replace equipment, check the cables. Right. So so I actually had that as a bonus when I started recording at home.
Okay.
That put me ahead of the game because I knew how to do this stuff. And I also had that radio experience, so I knew how do you EQ a thing? And like you said, your pack of stuff that here are my settings.
Yeah.
Well, what is you need to understand what the elements are. So in a recording environment, you have a number of things you need to consider. Number one, the voice. Where are you in the spectrum of voice? So then what microphone do you need in order to make that sound good for yourself? And this is a Sennheiser 416, which is literally a shotgun mic, which is the thing you point, down the football field so you can hear what they're saying in the huddle, right? Yeah. But it became a go-to VO mic because it's just got this wonderful, it's got a wonderful little immediate pickup. It's gorgeous. For certain voices. It works really well. This mic likes my voice. So then I use a solid state amp, preamp, and that just goes straight into Pro Tools. Sometimes when I've got a real long form narration that I would do, is I've got an old fashioned, what is it? It's a Symmetrix 528, not E. It's solid state, but it's not completely E, whatever the E means. It's the pre-E. Boy, does that little preamp love the sound of my voice. It really does. And it has the best gate on the market. It does.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful piece of outboard equipment, which I will pull out. But I mean, I've got a rack of stuff over here. I've got, some DBX 286s, which everybody has practically, because honestly, even the biggest it's the secret weapon. The DBX 286, everybody's got one, and if they aren't showing it, they've got one in the closet because I mean it's just it works. The end. And I've got I've got some other stuff over here. I love my stuff.
Yeah.
But frankly, the cleanest sound that I get, and the thing that really works for me is this mic through a solid state, little Apogee Duet straight into the computer. The end.
Yeah.
And then if I am having any kind of ambient sound, I wouldn't wear this shirt if I were recording because.
Oh.
Yeah. I usually just wear like a tank top so you don't hear anything.
Yep.
Oh man, there is a story about Carol Channing. She was brought in to do a commercial for a thing, and she was, you know how flamboyantly gorgeous she was.
Yes.
So she shows up at this recording studio to do an ad or a promo for something she's in. Mm-hmm. She's wearing a taffeta blouse. And it's like, Carol, every time you can't move because every time you move, it's like, right? And she says, oh, I can't talk and not move. So she just took the blouse off and did the ad in her bra because that's Carol Channing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when the COVID lockdown happened, I was hosting the morning show at the jazz station, and suddenly that jazz station is owned by Minneapolis Public Schools. And so when the shutdown happened, we all got kicked out of the building. And, radio, you can do remote. You've been able to do radio remotes for decades. So that's not that complicated. The technology is fairly simple. But all of a sudden, I'm doing the morning show out of my living room. In this house that I don't own anymore. But yeah, it was a crazy lesson in learning things that I never cared about. Because first of all, when I'm doing an interview like this, it's not about me. I mute myself half the time. It's about whoever my guest is. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really matter as much what's going on in the background here because I'm not usually the one talking very much. So when that all changed doing radio and I learned about like clicking my mouse, like... stuff like that.
Isn't that interesting? Sure.
Yeah, the plane that's flying overhead right now, very loudly. Mm-hmm. So I mean,
I'm hearing it this much. You've apparently got a little bit of a limiter or a gate on. So
yeah. But
awesome.
It's amazing to just like figure out how to be as quiet as possible.
Well, there's that. There's not only as quiet as possible where you have chosen to have your recording environment, but you also. And I hate to say this, but some of the actors I've worked with in the last year or so, I mean, even before I started working for ZeniMax, wouldn't be hardwired. They'd be doing Source Connect via Wi-Fi. And it's like, oh, please don't do that. Yeah, you really need an Ethernet cable in there. So, I mean, that's one of the things that I automatically understood, but not everybody else does.
Yeah.
And so these are things that we've had to really push uphill. The thing that happened for me, and this sounds dreadful, but it's true, is that I had almost more work than I could handle during the pandemic because I was well-placed. I already had Source Connect. It was already set up. I'd already been using it. I already had a really good sounding booth.
Yeah.
And I had a trusted sound, a reliable sound and a reliable signal. And so, those of us who had been doing it for a while, we were ready. I mean, nobody was ready for a pandemic, but we were ready for what happened when everybody started shifting, doing things remotely. It's a tool we should have. It's like, you know what? It's like knowing how to drive a stick shift.
Life skill.
You think it's good to know.
Yep.
You may not ever need to know it.
Yeah.
It's more like being able to do a good, and you can set something up in a closet if you know how. If you have to, you can do that. And I have friends who've done things on the road, in a hotel room, in what little closet area is under the quilt, and with a flashlight and that kind of. I mean, we do stupid stuff. Mm-hmm. But, you can, if you understand how things work and if you understand what the proximity effect does to your voice, because if you get too close, it cuts out all the high end and things like that. And so you have to know that.
Yeah.
You have to know some of that stuff. So those things are not automatic.
Right.
Somebody has to teach you, or you have to make a point to know them. And here's the deal with stuff like this: is sometimes we simply don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And it
Oh,
doesn't-
yeah.
and it doesn't occur to us that there is something that you need to do specifically with how close am I to this mic, and what is that going to do with the frequencies that, blah, and do people understand what a cardioid pattern is and all that other stuff, do you? It works. I plug it in, it works.
Yeah.
With the tech, not everybody can do it, and they need help. Thank God there are people, who can help with that stuff.
Yeah.
It's good to know how to do it yourself. And it's also good to have an ability to kind of do a sound check on yourself. We get used to the ambient. It's like, I hear this shirt. When I'm in this room and I'm talking on a mic, I am hyper aware of stuff.
Yeah.
I am, because that's actually part of my job.
Mm-hmm.
That's my responsibility, is to understand the things that might make the product that I am trying to create for you less than excellent. So I want to remove those things.
But I'm not going to do it in my bra, not in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just wear the proper clothes. Do you know the actor Fred Tatasciore?
I don't.
Okay. You have heard him in 10,000 things.
Okay.
Trust me, he's been in your living room.
All right.
Just one of the
you
greatest,
have, so.
one of the greatest character actors, just one of the greatest voices in the biz.
Okay.
And I learned about what to wear from him. He didn't teach it to me. Pat Fraley let me sit in on some sessions that introduced me to some people and let me sit in the studio with other actors, so I could watch the way games were made.
Nice.
And he set that up. And so one of the things, I met Fred at Sound Deluxe, Technicolor, in Burbank. This is ages ago. And I thought, why does Fred Tatasciore look like a bum? Because he had this old T-shirt on, and he had some junky old sweatpants on. I'm like... And then I realized, these clothes don't make any noise at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was dressed for the job. And so I actually, I lived in Oregon for a while and would do sessions in Los Angeles, and I would fly down, so I would be dressed respectably, but I had a little bag, and my carry-on bag is, I would have like a T-shirt and like bike shorts.
Yeah.
That's it. Here it is. I'm doing this. I will come and do your game for you, because these things don't make noise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Important.
It is. And do you think that, just the ability for people to have a home studio, I mean, in terms of market saturation and all of those things, I mean, what's that been like?
More people feel like they can get into the game. Okay, there are 10 million new things that are happening for VO people. Okay, because of the nature of mass communication, we've got much more media that needs to be made. Okay, so we do have all of these people who want to be doing voices and doing all this kind of stuff. Has it had an impact on my career? I don't know. To tell you the truth, I haven't lost a job that I know of because somebody else has a home studio. Here's the deal. We went through a time, and I'm not sure we're fully out of it yet, where because it was inexpensive, it was good enough. And there was a raft of reprehensible crap on the radio for quite a while for people who were getting actors who could do stuff on the cheap. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happens when people don't listen to your advertising?
They're going to buy your stuff. Yeah.
I'm not going to buy your stuff. In fact, I don't like your stuff anymore. There was I actually wrote to a car company saying, look, you've got some 20-year-old hipster talking about your car, which is actually the car my father drove. I don't like your ads anymore, and I'm going to tell people not to buy your car because it's inappropriate. You know, and that kind of stuff. Everybody was trying a little something. I mean, you've got people, you know, you've heard of Fiverr, and people were doing, you know, fun, cheap stuff on Craigslist and that kind of stuff. Look, there's a market for that. Not everybody needs a $250 an hour voice. Not everybody needs that voice.
Yeah.
The people who do need that voice want that voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really. And they're going to go get that voice.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a market for it. There is.
Yeah.
The thing that sometimes I hear about, you know, the robo voices that sound so great, or how you can say a certain number of words, you can read certain number of pages, and then they can type something in and have your voice say anything. Oh, it's going to take, you know, work away from voice actors. No, it isn't. And it's what you asked about when you sent me your list of questions. It's about being an actor. It's about being an actor. In the end, the reason why you hire someone, the reason why you hire Steve Blum, you know, the voice of Spike Spiegel and 10,000 other fantastic voices, to do your cartoon is because you trust him. And he's worth it. So why are you spending all that money? Because you get it the first take. That's why.
Yeah.
Or, you know, or you get something you didn't even dream was possible. It wasn't even in your sphere of thought. You get this wonderful thing, and that's what the actors bring to you.
Well, improv, right? Yeah.
Here, let me try this for you. I have this idea. Yeah. And so that's why anybody with a podcasting, the thing, anybody with a podcasting mic and a recording rig can make a show. Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that that's absolutely fantastic. It gives a chance for people to be heard who were otherwise absolutely unaware that there was an audience for their stuff.
Yeah.
Even if it's 10 people in their town.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's wonderful. The more there is, the more there can be. That's really what's happened, is that this world of voiceover has exploded. And I think it's great.
Yeah.
You know, so we all had to suffer with bad ads every once in a while. So you suffer with bad ads anyway. I mean, you always had that guy with the car dealership or the hot dog company, you know, in your town who wanted to do his own ads. Let me tell you about my carpet company, you know, or whatever. So what?
Yeah.
That's what makes oh my gosh, it's wonderful. Yeah. So is there a is there a saturation? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there work for everybody? I don't know. Is there work for me? Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want to say, well, I got mine, so I'm okay. But seriously, the people who give a rip are gonna look around for the right voice for their thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it's great, honestly. People need to try stuff out. Do you look at TikTok?
I don't. It's so, oh my God, my friends and I. So I have 3 friends who send me TikTok stuff all the time. I do not have it on my phone, but yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So
I see it. I see it on Facebook, and occasionally those Reddit will. I'm a Redditor. Okay,
Nice. Okay.
Reddit is my jam. So, but I love a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody's a cinematographer.
Yeah.
Everybody's a reporter, Emily.
Yes.
Okay? You know, I mean, it's really democratic. It's made everyone part of the show. Wow. There's some really
amazing.
Wonderful stuff. Is there an awful lot of dreck? Of course there is. But there's always been.
Yeah.
Always. Bad writing, bad acting, you know, terrible videos, things that are terribly stupid and too long. Bad theme songs for podcasts that, you know, go on too long and blah and whatever. Who cares? Who cares?
Yeah.
Let's enjoy it all. It's just the greatest.
Yeah. It is the greatest. And talking to you has been the greatest. It's been amazing.
Oh, Is it over?
Maybe. It doesn't have to be over. I didn't even look. Honestly, I'm going to look right now at my list of questions. It's going to wash me out so hardcore to pull this up, but I didn't even look at my questions for you.
So I hate it when I say because I'm a radio personality.
Yeah.
I am a radio personality, and it is against the law to say, you know what? Oh, my God. Every once in a while, there would be somebody, usually the morning show, because the afternoon, after the morning show, you don't really get a lot of chatter. But occasionally, you'd get a guy in the morning show who, whatever station you were listening to, who couldn't get through a sentence without saying, oh, we used to call him the Wizard of Oz.
Nice.
Oh,
I love that.
So bad.
That's a good nickname. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't like saying so if there are us, mucho apologies from here.
It happens. It's just how people talk. That's how it goes, you know.
It is. It's verbal punctuation.
It is, and it.
However,
helps us
it can be a crutch, though, and that's one of the things that being on the radio helped me really kind of weed out. So one of the things, and this doesn't have anything to do with any of your questions, it just has to do with speaking, especially extemporaneously.
Yeah.
People use crutches like and because they feel as though if they lose the vocalizations that someone's going to stop them from talking, that they're going to lose the talking stick. And so you get people who go and or any of this kind of stuff because they want to maintain their place on the floor. I understand that. But it also becomes a crutch like, or any of those things. When I was 12, I had a problem.
Really?
And I knew it. And I think that my parents might have said something about it. They were both English majors. But
oh, God.
I recognized that I was saying it too much. And I'm a little kid. Mm-hmm. 5th or 6th grade. It must have been 6th grade. So I was in 5th or 6th grade. So it was 11 or 12. And I had an issue that I had to break. So here's what I did. I asked 2 of my friends to listen to me tell a shaggy dog story. A shaggy dog story is one of those things. It's a joke. It's usually got a stupid pun at the end. But it's a big story that has all of these magnificent details, and it's a big, florid story.
Okay.
So I had a shaggy dog story that I knew by heart. I asked them, please do this for me. Please sit and listen while I tell you this story. And if I come to a place where I feel like I'm going to say, I'm going to stop. This is going to be hard for you to listen to because it's going to be terrible. But I'm going to do this story, and I am not going to say, And I've actually never had a problem with it ever since.
Interesting. I think one of the things that helped me, and I do it all the time. I mean, I still do it all the time. And my questions are often long and drawn out and kind of a mess because I have to listen to myself and edit myself all the time. So I hear this. I've heard this for years. But there are 2 things that helped me. One of the things that helped me when I was live is, because we don't do this very often, is to actually think about the words that are coming out of my mouth. What am I saying right now, and what am I trying to say, and concentrating on that rather than what's coming ahead. That was something that really kind of helped me with that. And then also the other thing that helped me with regards to being, there are 2 other things. On my morning show, I would do 2 live interviews a day. So I would have people either call in or come in, and we'd just do live interviews on the air for 8 minutes. And that really helped me to make sure I knew what the hell I was going to say.
Oh my gosh.
Monday through Friday. I tried to have 2 guests on a day.
Oh my gosh. That's heavy lifting.
Yeah. And I mean, without a producer too, so that's me scheduling it all and balancing it, whatever. But that's that. But then also just editing myself, hearing myself stumble through these questions and sound like I didn't really know where the end was. And it's still a problem for me, as we can tell from this question in and of itself, or this statement. But
the thing that I'm trying to tell you in 5,000 words, or less,
Yeah. Those are some of the things that helped me, but I still do absolutely have verbal crutches like ums and uhs and buts and ands and all of those things. Yeah.
One of the things I also learned from being on the radio is small silences are okay.
Yeah.
Because if you actually listen to an air check, and the thing that you did that morning that sounded that in your mind like you left 10 seconds open where you didn't want to say but you also didn't say anything is actually a microsecond. It just feels different because we are used to filling the world with sound.
Yes.
And that business of not having a verbal crutch takes concentration. And you also have to allow for the silence. That's okay.
Yes.
People don't care unless it really goes on, and then they'll wonder if you've had a stroke or something. But then you can pick it up. Mm-hmm. So that's something that I guess I practice all the time. When I'm speaking, there is not a time where I'm not aware of how I'm speaking. I've had people say, wow, you're so well-spoken, and it really sounds like you're doing radio all the time. And I kind of am, I guess, because most of what I have to do in any circumstance is communicate. I might as well be good at it, even if I'm talking to someone in the grocery store. Mm-hmm. So I just am aware of clarity and precision for years. And so it just pays off. In the end, I'm aware of it and I'm able to do it. The thing that I hear, so this is me outing myself again, is when I'm speaking extemporaneously with someone like this, is I hear my accent. Because when I'm doing a narration, I don't have an accent.
Okay.
But when I'm just talking about stuff, I can really, oh boy, can I hear my accent. So I've got a Western accent. I was born in California, grew up in Hawaii.
I didn't know
and
that.
So I just have an idiolect that I've picked up over all the places I've lived. So I lived in Northern California, Southern California, Florida, Hawaii, Oklahoma, South Carolina, all this kind of stuff. And so in those years, I've picked up just certain vocal mannerisms that are erased when I'm doing a corporate narration. I'm very precise about where my placement is and how I pronounce things. But when I do, my precision is still pretty clear, but what I hear is my R. I've got a really hard R. You'll hear it when you edit this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard it.
Really... yeah, I've been hearing your R.
I listen. That's my
job, says Emily. I listen to that stuff. You bet.
I listen. Yeah. I hear it. No, I love that. And I mean, I can. My Minnesota thing comes out left and right if I'm not careful. So yeah, and Midwestern too generally. But yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's more placement than anything else. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
The O's. Yeah.
The O? Yeah.
You bet. The O. Yeah.
Oh,
snow. We got a lot of
wonderful.
snow over the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. Snow.
Yep. But seriously, I seriously could just keep talking to you. I just am really hungry.
I thought that was my stomach growling.
I was telling you it was planes overhead, but it was actually my stomach the whole time.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
covered.
No.
Yeah.
But seriously, though, I mean, this has been just an absolutely wonderful conversation. And I mean, what other things do you want to make sure you say before we go?
There is something wonderful about teaching other people about VO. And you asked me about my teaching.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love the most is the light bulb moment that is different for everybody. And it has to do with engaging your frame of reference. And that is not an easy thing to do. We look at words on paper and we think we need to read them nicely, and sometimes we do. But the thing that really makes people sit up and listen is your own engagement. And I learned this from my first VO teacher named Will LeBeau, who is a stage actor in Boston. ACT, stellar, wonderful. I swear to God, I learned more things from him that I still do today. And it must have, I can't even remember how long ago it was. It was really long. Okay, so it was my first VO teacher. And he talked about you can tell when someone's connected. Most of the things that you hear on the radio, especially ads, okay, are a wall of sound. He says you can tell that they're speaking English and they have a nice voice, and that's about it. And every once in a while, something goes, and you listen, and you almost lean forward. You're driving, and suddenly you're doing this, okay? And it's because someone is speaking to you about something they care about.
Mm-hmm.
We have a treasure up here that is only ours. It's our life experience. It's our frame of reference. And it is waiting to serve you. So my improv teacher, we had 2 books. We had Respect for Acting by Uta Hagen and Psycho-Cybernetics, which is about how to use your subconscious.
Oh, wow.
So Psycho-Cybernetics there are a couple of wonderful editions of it. I would get the newer one, I think, because the fellow has had some feedback and he changed some of the ways he described things.
Okay.
It's what access to frame of reference is what makes all of the difference in the world, because we are a storytelling race of creatures. One of the ways we stayed alive and how we kept our clans together is because we tell stories. So we expect stories. I tell you a story from my engagement point. I'm telling it to you with my imagination and my experience. As I tell you, and you hear it, because I'm engaged, you're engaged. It goes into your ear, goes into your frame of reference, engages your imagination and your life experience, and you share with me. It's one of the reasons why radio is the best advertising medium, bar none, and I will fight anybody who disagrees with me. It's like, fight me. Change my mind, I dare you. Radio advertising is the best because what it does is it engages the individual and makes them care about your rug, about your car, about your cleaning service, about whatever it is. If it's done right, if it is done right, it is the most engaging.
Yeah.
Because you're not passive, you're active, active, active. That's one of the things I teach to actors. They are amazed that they've been missing it. I call it, it's dramatic interpretation, okay? But the whole point of it is engaging your own imagination, your own frame of reference. Because in the end, that's why they hire me.
Yeah.
That's why they hire him. That's why they hire her. It's because they bring something to the table that they can't get anywhere else. And that's what it is. It's the frame of reference. I just had a session with a fellow who's doing national ads for a truck company. Okay? And he wanted to try something that is just for outdoor furniture. And he's been a student of mine for a while. We stopped for a while because of my job, and then he said, I need a lesson. So he brought this script to me. He lives in Detroit, and brought this. We do everything's remote for the love of God. So what he has is this wonderful, very well written. Good ad copy is just magnificent stuff. It really is. God bless the writers. His reaction to this, on the face of it, was about what the ad was about, outdoor furniture, and he made a little list of things that he related to. And it was umbrellas and pillows and cushions and awnings and all of these beautiful things. And the outdoors and what that was like. And it was absolutely flat. The thing that he gave me as an initial foray was a pre-recorded He recorded the ad, sent me the copy. I listened, and when we got together, I said, "Where are you? I don't hear you. I hear your voice, but I don't know where you are." And so what we did was we created an event. Where are you? Do you have outdoor furniture? Do you have a deck? Yes. Okay, what do you have out there? Describe to me what's your best day out there? I had him describe to me making lunch for his wife so that he and she could go outside, sit outside on their beautiful deck, under their beautiful umbrella in their beautiful backyard, and they've got this summer salad, and he's got Pellegrino, and she's got red wine. So I set up the whole romance of everything, and I said, "Now read me the ad." And I mean, it was just, it was another world. It was so divine. That is the most satisfying thing I do in my freelance life. And I do a lot of wonderful stuff for wonderful clients. I really do. But man, nothing beats that.
Yeah.
Let's talk you through. How does this work for your mind? Mm-hmm. Not just your brain, but your mind and your heart. And those are the things that are not easy for people to do because we think that we're reading words on paper, but we're really not.
Well, DB, where do people learn about you?
You can find me. My website is dbcoopervo.com.
So that we don't confuse you with the fugitive DB Cooper, right? Yeah.
I'll never tell. Don't I look great for a guy who's so old?
Like 110 or whatever he'd be now. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Hey,
do people give you shit about that a lot?
I actually got the name from the State Police of Massachusetts because I used to do traffic reporting as my real name, DB Williams.
Okay.
DB Williams for BZ Traffic. And they got a kick out of that. DB Williams for BZ Traffic. They said, DB Williams, is that like DB Cooper? And I finally went, yeah.
Might as well be. You did traffic?
I never went in the helicopter. I was not a helicopter person. But I was able to, we listened to all of the State Police scanners.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. And so many different members of the State Police of Massachusetts from so many disparate barracks asked me, is that like DB Cooper? I finally said yes. and here's the deal, Emily. I am the one and only DB Cooper because I am the only DB Cooper in the Screen Actors Guild.
Oh, nice.
You can only have one of any given name in the Screen Actors Guild.
Oh,
okay, so there can only be one.
Yeah.
Each name has to be unique, which is why you have something like Michael J. Fox, because there was already a Michael Fox.
Sure.
It's the reason you have David Bowie, because there was already a David Jones in the Monkees, right? Okay, so the reason you have these things is there can only be one. I am the one and only DB Cooper.
I love that. Well, that could not be more true. And such a great conversation to have with you,
Thanks.
DB. And we'll just have to do this again.
I think so. I mean, just for the hell of it.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Really, God, it's so nice to talk with someone who's got a similar life experience.
Yeah. Radio all day, man. Radio
all
for
day.
life. Thanks so much, DB.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.